I'm here with Roman Harper, former New Orleans Saint, safety, Super Bowl champion. How are you doing in this heat? Obviously, you played here for a very long time, but does it feel a little bit warmer than normal?
No, it's like New Orleans. It's what it is. It's the summertime. It's a little bit of starting to get into fall, but it doesn't actually cool off here till December. So this is very normal for me. I'm not worried about it. I just had one of our crews how did you guys play football in this weather? I said, well, we had a dome, so it's very easy for us. It's always 70 degrees. It's not bad. Now here in Baton Rouge, it's always a little sticky, but that's why you guys play a lot of night games.
And before we get into LSU, I have to ask you about the Saints. What are you thinking about the season? How are you feeling about the first game against the Cardinals?
Well, you want to win that game, of course, but obviously I got to be honest though. The NFL is completely different, because the players don't play in preseason anymore. The first 3 to 4 games of the season is usually how guys are getting ready and revving up. That you're learning how to make mistakes. You're learning how to get things corrected. This is the first time your starting offense has actually gone and played a whole half of football, came back and had to make adjustments at halftime and play a second half. So all the things are going to have to kind of work its way out. But, this is not a great Saints team. So the wins that they get, you got to enjoy them. And then ultimately, you got a lot of young guys that are playing for them that you're going to have to learn on the fly. And hopefully you get some really good pieces while all these young guys are playing, so we can hold on to those and then know what we don't have, so we can go acquire that in the draft.
And now moving into tomorrow night's matchup, obviously UF is coming off a really tough loss. What did you think going into the game versus USF, and could you kind of see maybe little pits that you thought might pop up during that game, or was it a total surprise?
No, it wasn't a total surprise. South Florida, they've won. They're the only team that's beaten 2 top 25 teams in the country. They won the week before. They kind of embarrassed Boise State the way they played. They were a good team, and that when you play smaller teams in the same state, you got to be aware that these young guys, they probably wanted to go to Florida, so they already feel disrespected and have a chip on their shoulder. So you got to be able to match their energy and intensity. Florida made some mistakes, and if you just remove the logos from the helmet, Florida was going to lose that game. They lost a takeaway turnover battle. They had 100-plus yards in penalties. You lost the special teams battle because you snapped the ball over your punter's head for a safety. And defensively, you got to do your job. You had too many missed plays, missed opportunities. So with those stats alone, I don't care if you're a high school team, a professional team, or a college team, the team that loses those categories, they're going to lose the game. And that's what Florida did. They got to get things cleaned up, and hopefully Billy Napier and those guys will rise to the occasion and understand the adversity that's ahead of them.
Speaking of Billy Napier, what do you see coming out of that situation? Last year, he went through a lot of criticism. They decided they would retain him for one more season. Kind of what's the give and take of keeping him this season, or what do you see the outlook of that coaching looking like?
I think you get no benefits by letting him go before the end of the season. You lose all of recruiting, the cohesiveness that you're trying to build. It's the reason why you kept him last year, because of DJ Lagway and everything that he could bring, and the cohesion. And so with so much player changing and turmoil from roster to roster with the transfer portal, the one commonality that you can get that is the baseline is your head coach and that staff. So if you don't have to change that, then why would you? Because there's already enough changes in college sports right now. So I'm not saying they need to let go of Billy Napier anytime soon, but they do have to start winning some of these games. You have to learn how to not get in your own way. I'd rather lose because we're not talented enough, and not because of bad penalties or lack of discipline. Because discipline, whether the coach made the play or not, which he didn't, discipline starts at the top. And so the top of it all is Billy Napier at head coaching position, so he has to get these things corrected.
So what goes into getting these things corrected, especially going against this LSU defense? I mean, we've seen them play some shutout games so far this season. So what goes into Florida pulling off this upset?
Florida has to be able to run the football with Jaden Ball. Starts there. And then all of a sudden be able to hit some deep passes down the field with DJ Lagway. Last year, he was able to show off his great arm, his ability to be accurate throwing the passes down the field. He has not been able to do that. He's only completed one pass of 20-plus yards so far this season. And so they got to get more explosive on offense to be able to challenge this LSU defense. This LSU defense is playing lights out right now. They got a lot of different moving pieces that they brought in, and Blake Baker's using all of them exceptionally well and using them to LSU's benefit right now. So you got to be able to play a little bit of defense offensively by running the football, and not trying to open it up and do too many things to put your quarterback in problems or problem situations, but starts running the football, and then from there, try and get it going offensively. And defensively, you have to try and create turnovers. You got to try and steal a possession at some point in time, whether it's a fake field goal, a fake punt, onside kick. You have to do something to try and steal a possession if you're Florida right now, to kind of take the momentum out of LSU, who's kind of riding high. You need to make them feel some kind of adversity early to then see how they manage it late.
And moving on to the other side of the field with LSU, like you said, they're riding high right now. If there are any, what do you think would be LSU's downfall going into this game? Because when I looked at it, I think the matchups are pretty even, but I do think LSU pulls this one out. But if there are any, what can Florida do to take advantage of this game on this stage?
You know, for defensively for LSU, you got to be aware of there can be no lulls. You still have to treat this team like they're undefeated, because the mindset would be completely different if they didn't lose to South Florida last week. That's why you start off with that question, because now everybody's perception of them has changed just a little bit. This is a still very dangerous, capable Florida team that didn't play well last week. So you flush that out of the way, you take it for what it is, but understand, like, this team can beat you. This is a rivalry game that weird things happen. So how do you handle when the weird things happen tomorrow? Because something's going to happen that nobody's ready for. That's just what this rivalry game does. And so how do your players respond once that happens? They did a great job of responding versus that with Clemson. But we also remind everybody that Brian Kelly, that was the only game on his schedule. That's all they talked about all offseason.
1-0.
So, yeah, 1-0. We didn't talk about anything else. So now you accomplish that. So now do you relax? You cannot relax. I was always taught, and I learned this from Sean Payton, that if you think this is a big game, win it, because the next one's going to get even bigger. And so that's got to be the mindset of, is like, if this is a big game, that everybody's telling me it is, I win it, the next one's going to be even bigger. So how do you continue to handle the pressure, the moment that is playing in a big game? You can't look at it that way. You just digest it, understand it, and accept that, hey, if you think it's big now, the mentality is once we win it, the next one's going to be big too, so it doesn't really matter.
And as a current safety, I mean, I'm sure you're still in the safety mindset, game planning against Garrett Nussmeier, you know he's a big pass quarterback.
Yeah.
What can the safeties do, especially in that Florida backfield, to kind of stop him, knowing that he's going to have those big chunk plays?
Do your job. Right now, Florida's having a problem defensively, but they have to do their own job. You got to do your 1-11. If you do that, the D-line will be able to get pressure. And when pressure happens around Nussmeier, when he sometimes feels a little flustered, he's going to throw you the ball. He's going to give you a chance to make a play on the ball. So that's what I would say. If I'm Florida, do your job. And when the play comes, you got to go make your play. And understand, I can't be making the corner's play or somebody else's play. I have to make my play and take advantage of my own opportunity. And if I do that, I do my 1-11, then I think we're going to give ourselves a chance to win this game ultimately.
I agree. And last question, going into this game, what will be the difference maker? What do you think will be the difference maker if UF wins or if LSU wins? Like, what's the one big thing from this matchup that will truly be the difference in either side winning?
I just think it's the growth of LSU's defense. That's why I would take them. The growth of what they're doing defensively, it looks different. It's the best SEC that I've watched on SEC defense that I've watched on tape so far this year, and that's not anything close to what I could say the last 2 years of LSU's defense. But the way that Blake Baker is using these guys individually, I'm telling you, it's like when you look at offenses, they talk about weapons as like wide receivers, tight ends, running backs. Well, you also have weapons on defense too. A player like Harold Perkins, using him in the ways that he's using them right now, he is a weapon. The way they use Whit Weeks, and he's using his brother Wes Weeks to use their strengths and not putting them in jeopardy of their weaknesses. You're all making these guys weapons now. Using Mansour Delane, who's been my favorite cornerback to watch in college football. He is a weapon right now, so you build your whole defense around these special weapons that you have. Done a great job of that, and so for me, it's LSU's defense will be the determining factor and the reason why ultimately I think they win this game.
Do you have a score prediction?
I do not. I don't do score predictions. I do over/under sometimes, but I try not to talk about that on TV.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Hey, Roll Tide and who dat?
No. Who dat? No, Roll Tide.